Well, boys, here we go again. Clench up and prepare yourselves, because we're more than likely about to witness yet another terrible adaptation of something we all love. Or at least for me, something I used to love. So I guess I'm not really too bothered by the notion that the upcoming The Last of Us TV series is probably going to be significantly less than stellar, just going by some of the things the showrunner Craig Mazin has said, who obviously doesn't have much concern or respect for the original source material or the fan base. Now, I recognize this is probably going to be a divisive topic, and before anyone points out that Neil Druckmann is working really closely on the show, like that's supposed to reinforce confidence or something, because even he doesn't have respect for most of the fans of the original game. I mean, who can forget when he left the tweet in celebration of The Last of Us Part 1 Remake's launch, baiting the fans unhappy with the absolutely humiliating death of Joel, posting a picture of Troy Baker standing beneath the sign of a golf supply shop, joking about how Joel's head was caved in by Abby wielding a golf club, which pissed off the majority of The Last of Us fans, so that's not exactly going to help convince me of anything. So yeah, even though it doesn't really bother me personally, like it would have prior to the release of the disastrous Last of Us Part 2, I'm never going to hesitate to call out these Hollywood asswipes when they're disrespecting fans and video games. The Last of Us showrunner says death in the game means less because it's just watching pixels die.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
My God, this is such an idiotic thing to say. As if a bunch of Hollywood actors pretending to die on screen is any different or better than the death in video games. I mean, he's obviously trying to imply that his show is going to be better than the original game because it means more when an adult pretender fakes dying on a TV show. And even though I know what he means when he says it's just pixels dying, out of pure enjoyment of being a smartass, I'll point out to this twit that images on the TV screen are just pixels too. He also needs a lesson on motion capture technology. I mean, these characters in modern video games are very often completely acted out by real people. So again, what is the difference? It's an unfortunate fact of life that those who aren't into video games will never truly understand how much more engaging it is than any other medium. While everyone who has played a story-driven video game has surely, at some point, read a book and watched a movie, the reverse is not true. Meaning there are so many people who will never understand the storytelling power of video games, and occasionally it shows. Yep, I definitely agree with that. Given what we know about The Last of Us, thanks to the games, you can expect quite a bit of violence in the show as well. There's going to be at least one clicker biting a chunk out of someone's neck. However, according to the upcoming show's screenwriter, Craig Mazin, it might have a bigger effect in live action than via a video game. Well, it's funny you should mention the show's violence, because the showrunner Craig Mazin has actually said the HBO series is not going to be as violent as the video games, which was insanely disappointing to hear. When you're adapting beloved properties into a different medium, saying things like this is not going to instill much confidence in your potential audience. Now, I do understand the point they were making when they said this, that they have to cut out all non-essential violence because you're watching Joel instead of playing as him. But it's still a big change, and people just don't want to hear that kind of crap, especially coupled with the showrunner's other comments. It's a concerning pattern. So, getting back to it. When you're playing a section, you're killing people, and when you die, you get sent back to the checkpoint. All those people are back, moving around in the same way, said Mazin in an interview with The New Yorker. Watching a person die, I think, ought to be much different than watching pixels die. While what Mazin says is not entirely true, he does make a valid point. In a game, The Last of Us in this case, we're expected to kill and even be merciless at times. Considering how many AI enemies you may have killed over the years, this isn't something that would disturb you. At least not after the first few times. However, watching Pedro Pascal force a blunt shiv into a firefly's neck, holding him down as he dies slowly and painfully, is bound to disturb even some seasoned gamers. And once again, I don't think he's making a valid point at all. Video games have come such a long way and do just as good of a job as movies and TV shows. And in fact, in my opinion, many times they do an even better job at managing to evoke an emotional reaction for me to the characters on screen. Since you're getting to play as them, you actually step into their shoes and play out these sections of their life that the game focuses on. That just makes it much easier for me to connect with the characters and to actually care about them. I'll take a great story-driven video game over a TV show or movie any day of the week. But that's just me. So yeah, I don't have too much hope that the show is going to be anywhere near on the level as the original Last of Us game. Even though I will admit that the trailer actually looked pretty decent, but that doesn't mean much. It's a piece of cake to make an awesome trailer even if the finished product is a pile of dog shit. And the series showrunner should really take some time to learn and recognize that video games are not some inferior form of storytelling. Not even close. And considering the vast majority of the audience they're targeting is made up of gamers, maybe he should shut his pie hole and stop disrespecting this medium. And on a side note, even though I said I don't really care how the show turns out, I'm actually kind of very interested in season 2, or whenever they happen to adapt the atrocious story of The Last of Us Part 2. Even though I hated Joel's death in that game, I really wouldn't mind watching it happen to Pedro Pascal. I mean, that guy's a douchebag. And maybe they could even get Gina Carano to play Abby, just so she could have the honor of wielding that freaking golf club. Retribution for his complete silence and lack of support when she was being canceled over an opinion. That's just a joke, of course. I really wouldn't want to see Gina play the terrible character partially responsible for ruining this franchise. So anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think of this in the comments down below. Are you looking forward to the show, or do you think it's just going to be another bastardized adaptation? If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and check out one of these other videos I uploaded recently. Or consider subscribing if you want more content just like this. I'll catch you all later.